Hi and good evening, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is VlogsBoutNothin. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your Monday night to join me. I really appreciate it. I just mentioned it in the other video, but go Team USA. You feel me? And if that's to like any international viewers that might stumble upon at this point or at some time in the future, I'm sure they will. It's no hate against y'all, but it is definitely time to put on the friendly competition hat and welcome you to Paris, where again I'm rooting for Team America all the way. So one of the Team America, speaking of that, quote unquote, let's talk about how Biden dropped out of the presidential race last night, and Kamala Harris is now seeking to retain the number of delegates she will need to secure the Democratic nomination for being the president of this country. I've said on this channel before, and I don't mind saying it because again, it is what it is. And if people don't agree with me, I feel like it's because they've had a different experience in the legal system, and that's good for them because obviously you've maintained your ability to stay out of trouble. You're not systematically targeted in an like a society that's driven by institutional racism. So I understand that you don't aren't going to understand what I'm talking about when I say that obviously, I mean, who isn't like Superman, ideologically speaking, in that good should trump evil. I know that's a real weird play on words there, but you understand what I'm saying. Like mostly, I feel like people want good more than they want bad and or evil. Like this is I furthermore feel that on the Freudian level of things, that people are not born monsters. People are made by their environment. Their environment is the single most largest influence, other than obviously your biological genetic makeup, which is not always predetermined. Just because you got something in your genes doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen to you in any kind of a way that gene would make it. And I preface this because prosecutors are a kind of people. You feel me? Just like lawyers, just like doctors, just like artists and musicians and the regular 9 to 5er, the farmer, and I really feel like people don't understand that the idea of being a prosecutor involves several different sacrifices towards your fellow human being. And I'm not the only person in middle-aged America who is not happy about Kamala Harris deciding that she is now going to, try and win over the Democratic nomination to run against Donald Trump when her game is about as weak as a 2-year-old trying to play professional sports with grown people. You feel me? And I say this because with all due respect, I'm a West Coast boy. I love California. I love where I'm from. I love the desert. You feel me? I love all of that. What I don't love is when people do my part of the country in particular, because I feel like I'm a stakeholder, you feel me, like within the community and within the region, and I'm not a fan of people locking other people up under false pretense and making an entire career out of imprisoning human beings. Like again, we all understand, you feel me, there's good and there's evil, going back to that whole example, but to put on a cape and think that you're Batman, you feel me, and dictate what you think is right or wrong, and to assess punishment like based on a doctrine that assumes people are guilty, like you feel me, like that in itself is a reflection and it's indicative of a legal system that is archaic at best. You know what I mean? The fact that there are people trained, to make sure that you don't have freedom. Like that's a little weird. That's a little weird, I mean, heinous crimes, violent crimes, these things we're going to deal with on a case by case basis. But to do some of the things that Kamala Harris did to the residents in California is not just outlandish and preposterous, it's seriously insane. Like this woman has a terrible track record as being a prosecuting attorney in the state of California. Now, again, I obviously wish that Kamala Harris was more like Michelle Obama or Hillary Clinton because, you know, I would vote for Michelle Obama or even Hillary Clinton. Like, seriously, like, it wasn't that people didn't want Hillary Clinton to be president. I feel like, remember, it was that Bernie Madoff should have been the candidate that year. That's it. You know, I've never been anti-Hillary. In fact, why wouldn't I like Hillary Clinton? She's got a great political record. She would have made a great president. Seriously. Like, who are we kidding ourselves? She would have made a great president. Trust me, better than Trump, you know. And we could be in a world where this year we're seeing her departure because she would have been a very strong incumbent and she would have been a two-term president. But to think for any second of a day that Kamala Harris is better or bigger or more influence, like more of an influencer than your Hillary Clintons and your Michelle Obamas, then like you got some stuff to work out. And you're probably from a state that supports, or you're a person who supports prosecuting criminals to the extent that like if they get busted for something like you know silly and not even like a petty crime, you know, you want to lock people up forever when like oftentimes it's pretty coincidental that the people you want to lock up are different color skin than you and live in different parts of town and believe in different things than you. I always find that to be so coincidental, right? But I guess we live in a pretty coincidental world, so I'll take it as it comes. But nonetheless, Kamala Harris, you know, obviously don't I we shouldn't vote for her, and I think that it's going to be silly to either have Harris or Trump as a pick on the presidential ticket because you're literally like you're asking people whether or not they'd rather vote for somebody they don't want to vote for and instead vote for somebody that they'd less likely don't want to vote for. In terms of Kamala Harris, stop kidding yourself, ma'am. Seriously, like, thanks for being our vice president and everything. Now go back into your career, your private career of prosecuting other human beings to the extent of which you've already locked up thousands of people because of your you know, interpretation of the law as it would be as it concerns your prosecutorial background. You feel me? Now again, I mean, if we're gonna go on accolades like that, let's elect a pro bono, you know, defense lawyer who spent their time helping other human beings at no cost to them. You feel me? Let's like elect one of them, right? But no, those people don't join politics because they're very heavily invested in helping other human beings when they make mistakes, when there's a risk of them being imprisoned over completely bogus claims, which now, you know, we have empirical evidence of many, many, many criminals who've never even committed any crime and still end up in jail. You feel me? And again, while all that stuff makes the prosecutor look good, right? Again, who doesn't want to say put that Batman cape on, be Bruce Wayne, you feel me, and say, oh well, because of me, you know, I locked up these bad guys, and now you don't got to worry about them or whatever. That's silly. That's like that's some super silly little kid thinking in terms of you're not sending adults to detention. This isn't a game that like is dictated by rules from an arbitrary person who has made their way on top to become a prosecutor. You feel me? Like seriously, like I would rather be like a delivery driver for food my entire life. I would rather be a dishwasher. Like again, I would rather do anything legally that I could to not be a trained human being to focus on the inadequacies of certain members that are marginalized in society just so that I can put them in prison. You feel me? This goes to Californians, this goes to all Americans. Woman, ma'am, I would call, if it were a man, I'd call, it doesn't matter. It's no slight on the gender. I'm just saying, no one's going to vote for you. And young people, not boomers or Gen Xers or whatever, you feel me? But millennials, alphas, and Gen Zers aren't going to fall for your prefabricated little speeches that tout how Joe Biden did all of this. Like, if you really want people to vote for you, talk about what you're going to do. Talk about what your ideas are. Talk about how you plan on implementing change in this country, because the Republicans have a very clear pathway. They have a very clear platform. They know exactly what they're doing. And again, if the Democrats don't want to look like elementary students debating college trained national winning debaters, then they really have to work on who they bring out to compete against Donald Trump. Now, publicly, I have my favorites, right, of who I'd like to see run for president, and that's the thing is we all do, right? I think that's kind of weird too when we all know who we vote for president, but that person decides to never run again or whatever. But all the Democrats are weak, all of them. There is not a single Democrat that can actually beat Donald Trump. It doesn't matter. Peter Buttigieg or all of these people who have an arguably viable long political career, none of which involves being in the highest elected office because they're simply not that likable. Now, again, I don't make the rules, you know what I mean? But I am fairly accurate at determining political outcomes in what this kind of my arena. You feel me? And again, the Democrats are weak at best. Biden was probably their best chance. Again, unless old Madoff, old Madoff, holy potatoes, unless old Bernie Sanders, Bernie, you feel me? Part of the same part of this. Oh my God! But again, no one's going for it. Like seriously, we may as well all try to beg Michelle Obama to try and beat Donald Trump because she's the only one that could do it. No, I honestly, again, Kamala Harris is going to fall very short, and it's going to make the Democrats look very, very stupid for a very long time. And again, I guess that would be right along the lines of what they already do and what they've already done with their platform since the departure of Obama, right? I mean, seriously, come on, Democrats, come on. Now we're going on what will be 4 elections where you've seriously just completely failed miserably. You know what I mean? And that includes the second re-election, the incumbent decision of Barack Obama's second term, because he could have done a lot more for this country. And, as much as he did, there was also some marks on that record that could have been a lot better. And had he been the president that we had wanted him to be, provided that we already know as constituents there are going to be constraints, it would have been different. Barack Obama could have been the best president this country has ever had, and instead he's just a part of the conversation with other mediocre presidents. And I think that's weird because Obama was a real good person for the Democratic Party. He was a real good person for politics, and to see somebody with such ambition and ultimate, victories still fall short it tells you something. It tells you something about the job that they are asked to do, and it tells you something about how most of the time people are just going to cave in. And it doesn't matter if it's a Democrat or a Republican. It doesn't matter. There are vested people out there who are very interested in making sure that the world never changes. And it's those people that have everything to lose, right? Because never, ever, ever in the history of successors has a person, sort of been okay with how people talk badly about it and so forth and point out all of the problems. But this is a problem. This is a big, big problem. And it's only going to get worse as it seems. Again, because the options and the alternatives being offered to us are silly at best. And again, Kamala Harris, please just go away. Seriously, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. America will not elect you to be president of this country. So maybe bring out AOC. Are you guys scared to bring out AOC because she's young, she's brown, and she would likely get all of the alpha, Gen Z, and millennial votes? Is that why I'm not hearing AOC as a part of any of the options for there to replace Biden as the Democratic nominee? Seriously, backwards thinking. As much as I disagree sometimes with AOC, I'd vote for her. I would vote for AOC. And again, that's just because of the person she is and the future that she has in politics. AOC is a prime example of what a politician is. And you may like it or not, but she's a politician and she does her job very well. So, again, what about AOC? Why aren't we talking about AOC? Like, is it the same reason that nobody wanted to nominate Bernie Sanders in 2014? Is it the same reason? Because you don't actually want to win? You want this other dude to just like take the White House over again after changing the Supreme Court, granting himself immunity, and like saying that he's going to do the largest mass deportation in United States history? Like, seriously? Seriously? Okay, fine. Then throw Kamala Harris in the ring, and I'm sure we'll all just wonder what happened on November 5th. You know, like we always do, I guess. Like, what happened? You know, I thought everyone was anti, you know, this really hateful rhetoric that is ultimately going to prove to be the victor in this election if the Democrats don't get it together. And seriously, I hope they do. I really do. There are a lot of people and there's a lot at stake, and I hope that AOC at least has some kind of, opportunity to become the Democratic nominee, because I really feel like if anybody could beat her, if anybody could beat Trump, it would be her. And it would be with all of the opposite voters that Trump isn't going to get. And yeah, I'll kindly remind everybody that Hispanics are the largest demographic in the United States of America. So, there you go. AOC is Hispanic. And yeah, we went there because we all know exactly what I'm talking about. The only person who can defeat the ultra conservative, arguably treasonous former president who happens to be white and Trump is going to be somebody that happens to be a member of the largest demographic in this country by ethnicity, because by sheer values alone, she is going to represent a larger part of the population than her opponent. That's it. You know what I mean? That's all. That's all. Guess what? Being Hispanic means that you're half white. So, yeah, there's that. Or, it could be one of the variations of that. So, I'm for AOC, and I really think that she could defeat this dude, but I'm not hearing a lot of talk about her. So I hope that you guys have a wonderful night. We all know that I'm a registered independent. This can be verified publicly. You guys are more than welcome to always check up on me, which I know some of you do. And so regardless, definitely, check all that stuff out in terms of the argument and or debate as to who's going to replace Joe Biden. And the fact that, now it's being said that Kamala Harris is going to do that. But, before that party starts, I just kindly remind everyone about her track record and the fact that she's been a terrible vice president, she's a terrible speaker, and she has no reason to be in politics whatsoever. She is not a politician. She is a prosecutor. Guys, ladies, gentlemen, Kamala Harris is a prosecutor, not a politician. So, I hope that you guys have a lovely evening again. Thank you to all the new viewers and subs. I really appreciate it. It's unfortunate. I hope that, obviously, if you didn't know by now, the channel is anti-Trump, as it would be in this particular year for this particular election. And I just really strongly hope that we get to start hearing more about AOC, because she's really the only person that can defeat this man. Yep. All right. Have a good night. Bye, everyone.